Three tiers of government share 8.1 trillion naira in 2019. African Development Bank fault World Bank on indebtedness of African countries. Nigeria can generate $3.4 million in cashew export. Plus, West African traders seek end to international border closure. The program is Business Express, reaching you on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA. And I am Muplang Dakok. So good to have you watching Business Express. The Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NITI, says the federal, states and local governments and other statutory recipients by the Federation Accounts and Allocation Committee, FAC, shared 8.1 trillion naira in 2019. In its quarterly report released in Abuja, NITI said the figure is 377 billion naira lower than the 2018 figure of 8.524 trillion naira, but a 1.728 trillion naira higher than the total disbursements of 6.419 trillion naira made in 2017. Out of this amount, it said the federal government received 3.37 trillion naira, representing 41.4% of total disbursements. The 36 states got 2.761 trillion naira, while the 774 local governments shared 1.649 trillion naira of the total disbursements. Meanwhile, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, says it has introduced longer-term contracts on the naira in a move to attract more foreign inflows, show off its dwindling dollar reserves, and stave off a currency devaluation. The central bank on Thursday offered naira future contracts for 5-year settlements for the first time, priced at 379 naira 81 kobo to the US dollar. The longest tenure prior to this was a 13-month contract, which the central bank has offered for more than a year. The naira has come under pressure this year as importers demand dollars to feed consumers and market sentiment worsened by fears that the coronavirus outbreak would hit Chinese demand, one of Nigeria's major trading partners, and dampen growth. And the Japanese yen held on gains against the dollar on Friday as renewed worries about the coronavirus outbreak supported demand for safe haven currencies and weighed on prices of riskier assets. Let's see how the naira is exchanging for other international currencies. In other business news, the African Development Bank has faulted a claim by World Bank on indebtedness of African countries. The bank clarified the debts incurred by Africa and explained that the World Bank, with a more substantial balance sheet, had significantly larger operations in Africa than the AFDB. AFDB, in a statement by its Communication and External Relations Department, said that the World Bank's operations approved for Africa in the 2018 fiscal year amounted to $20.2 billion compared to the $10.1 billion of the Continental Bank. With regard to Nigeria and South Africa, the World Bank's outstanding loan for the 2018 fiscal year to both countries stood at $8.3 billion and $2.4 billion. In contrast, the outstanding amounts for the AFDB group to Nigeria and South Africa were $2.1 billion and $2.0 billion for the same fiscal year. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timi Silva, says 1 billion barrels of crude oil have been discovered from oil in the northeast. The minister stated this at the closing ceremony of the Nigerian International Petroleum Summit in Abuja.
The jury is not totally out yet, but from the evaluation reports we are getting, the reserve that has been discovered in the northeast is about 1 billion barrels. So you might have a situation where you can still have a lot of oil in your ground, but the world would have moved away from the oil to another form of energy, and the oil will no longer make sense. So let us, as a country, begin to ensure that we put our heart where our mouth is.
The minister, however, lamented that negative comments about Nigeria are preventing the inflow of capital into the oil and gas sector. Oil prices were steady on Friday but are set for their first weekly gain in 6 weeks on the assumption that major producers will implement deeper output cuts to offset slowing demand in China, the world's second largest crude user. Brent crude futures fell 9 cents after gaining 1% the previous session. It is 3.3% higher for the week, the first increase since the week of January 10. U.S. West Texas Intermediate futures went down by 1 cent as the contract rose 0.5% on Thursday and is now 2.2% higher for the week. And still talking commodities, gold prices held steady near a one-week high on Friday as a mounting coronavirus death toll supported safe haven buying, while a stronger dollar kept a lead on gains. After outperforming her peers early 2020, the Nigerian stock market in the last few weeks experienced massive sell-offs. Well, the legal status of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is about to change as it prepares to vote for demutualization of the capital market in less than a month. What does this mean to the Nigerian investing public and to traders? Emmanuel Howard Ali of Standard Union Securities joins us now and we'll be talking about that, but this will be after this short break. Mr. Emmanuel Howard Ali of Standard Union Securities is with us, and he will be shedding more light on the demutualization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so the demutualization is coming at a time when the market had rapid increases at the beginning of the year. So do you see this opening doors for investors to own the market if the mutualization takes place?
Yes, that will be the needed impetus for the market to garner momentum. The market has been experiencing a lull lately in its performance due to a massive sell-off. But I strongly believe that post-demutualization will lead to an appreciation of the capitalization of the market.
Okay. It is believed that when the demutualization happens, it will be like an avenue for big corporate organizations and their big bosses to kind of take over activities of the market. Do you see that as true? What's your own thought about that?
Yes, of course. Come to think of it, mutualization is a concept that changes the ownership status of an exchange from a mutually owned entity to an entity that is shareholding based. So investors are going to come to take up the shares and inject fresh and new ideas to take the market to the next level. It's the norm the world over that a lot of exchanges, according to the World Federation of Exchanges, over 70% of the exchanges have demutualized. So Nigeria is taking cue to follow and demutualize so as to be able to reap the rich benefit that comes from demutualization.
Yes.
And one of it is the inflow of foreign investments.
Okay.
Individuals are free to come and take up shares and become shareholders of a company that was mutually owned. Of course, the pre-demutualization structure of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is owned by daily member firms and ordinary members. So it's an exclusive club of investors. But they are opening up now. They are making it all inclusive. Sophisticated investors will come in. Less informed investors will come in. So the market will react to the coming in, and it will definitely appreciate in value.
Okay, you think the market, because I was going to ask you how you see transactions going in the stock market when this thing happens.
When it does happen, we'll witness a massive increase in the number of transactions on the exchange, because the dealing members are going to be allotted the shares after the IPO. An allotment will be made, and they can choose to sell or to hold. If they choose to sell, there's going to be a massive liquidity in the market as a result of the buying and selling. Cash has been freed up. It has been given to the dealing members because they actually own the exchange. So they will have to be allotted shares to reflect their ownership of the exchange. So if that does happen, they will sell, and that selling activity will rejuvenate the market and make it more liquid.
Okay. So, but how aware are members of the public about this, and investors as well? How aware are they about the process that is on and hopefully going to
Yes, it's going to be
happen?
on the news media. We have the inauguration of the board that will foresee the transition from the status of a mutually owned entity to a demutualized entity. It will be inaugurated by 3rd of March. So I believe that needed media attention will be drawn and created so that the investing public will know that it's about time to key into the exchange. It's once in a lifetime opportunity that investors have to come in, because foreign capital is going to flow. International banks, insurance companies, institutional investors will come into the market and inject funds. So it's an opportunity.
How do you see that boosting investor confidence?
Of course, most markets the world over that have demutualized, like London Stock Exchange, Johannesburg Stock Exchange, Nairobi, and the rest of them, they've increased record high transactions immediately after the demutualization. So I think it won't be any different with Nigeria. Liquidity is what the market will witness after demutualization, because the dealing member firms that actually own the exchange will be giving shares, and once they sell, it's going to lead to an enhanced level of activity in the market. So investors can key into that window and hope to make something in return for themselves.
All right, let's talk about the trading activities today. That's this Friday. The market is in the red again. The market lost minus 0.39% 8% this Friday. Can you talk about the figures?
Yes, actually, there has been a large sell-off. This earning expectations is in the air. So investors are being cautious. They want to see the outcome of the financials the companies will start sending. In another 1 month time, the financial year of most companies would have come to an end. So it's best to hold on and watch the momentum of the market before taking a position. I strongly believe that's what investors are hoping on. They want to cash in when it's getting low, they'll come in. And of course, profit taking has been going on. If you witness, at the beginning of the year, there has been a massive increase in the all share index, but profit taking has eroded it down to this level. But I strongly believe in the weeks to come, any expectation will balloon the index.
Okay. Market capitalization dropped to 14.4 trillion naira, and then we had less deals than the previous trading day. Well, what would you say, or do you know the driving companies
yes,
or the factors that led
actually,
to
this? Nestle has been on a decline. These are big weights. Once they lose, it affects the entire capitalization. It has lost, for the past 2 trading days, Nestle has been on a losing streak. So I quite believe it affected the market capitalization as well as the index too.
Okay. What stocks should we be looking out for, or looking out to see performing on the Nigerian stock market on the short and long term?
Yes, the banks are always doing well. They've been losing money consistently for the past 1 trading week as a result of the policy that was enacted, the reduction in cash reserve ratio. So there has been this panic sale on the part of investors. But I think it has come back to alignment. If we look at the banking, they will do quite well. The financial services will do quite well in the near term.
Okay. Thank you very much, Emmanuel Howard Ali of the Standard Union Securities. Thank you for taking our time to come on Business Express today.
You're welcome, my pleasure.
Okay. So still talking stocks. Stocks in Asia were mostly higher on Friday as concerns around the ongoing coronavirus outbreak continue to weigh on investor sentiment. Over to Bosede Ebel.
On the global market this Friday, February 14, 2020, investors continue to watch for developments on the coronavirus outbreak following Thursday's outcome in the number of cases reported after Hubei, China changed the way cases were diagnosed. Asian markets were mostly higher on Friday, with the Shanghai Composite rising 0.38% to 2,917.01, Hang Seng Index 0.39%, and the Nikkei closed 0.59% lower at 23,687.5. On the Wall Street in the United States, stocks slipped from record highs in the previous session as market participants struggled with an increase in the reported coronavirus cases. Dow Jones declined by 0.43%, S&P 500 0.16%, and the Nasdaq Composite 0.14%. In Europe, the stocks were also negative. DAX decreased 0.04%, FTSE 100 0.14%, and CAC 40 0.16%. In Africa, the markets turned out bearish as well. South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 depreciated by 0.43%, Nairobi's All Share 1.68%, Tunisia's Tunidex 0.21%, Namibia's overall index 0.02%, while Ghana's GSA Composite rose 0.44%.
Thank you, Bosede. As Nigeria intensifies efforts at using digitization to find solutions to issues around public finance management, insecurity, and job creation, the nation's ICT public service provider Galaxy Backbone says it has what it takes to achieving the goals of ongoing public finance.
The issue of providing a common IP-based network to all the MDAs, that is one. And then 2, it has also a mandate to host, that is applications, okay, that are transversal in nature, okay, for the MDAs. So you see, eyepiece is transversal in nature and is being hosted by the Galaxy.
And I recommend that people and organizations should begin to look inwards and tap the very potentials and expertise that Galaxy stands to offer.
Meanwhile, West African cross-border traders under the aegis of the West African Association for Cross-Border Trade in Agroforestry, Pastoral and Fisheries Products have urged the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, to intervene in the Nigerian government prolonged border closure. The group, in a letter to the president of ECOWAS Commission, says the border closure had no severe impact on the businesses of its members who have been forced out of trade for nearly 6 months now. The letter, signed by its second regional secretary, Salami, also urged the Nigerian government to take necessary steps for the release of loaded trucks stuck at various border posts, as their cargoes, particularly perishable items, are rotting away without a ray of hope. And with that report, we come to the end of this edition of Business Express. Don't forget you can access all previous episodes on YouTube, and you can communicate with us on Twitter. The handle is @NTA News Now. The hashtag is BizX. We value your feedback, so keep the mails coming. Join us again on Monday next week for another package. I am Muplang Dakok, and as I always say, keep thinking and doing business.